Okay, Lori, thank you. Connie Saxel, Town Internal Auditor. So as Lori had stated, there were 76 recommendations made within the DPW Independent Audit Report. And as of this date, I report that 39 are currently fully implemented, or, as you will, closed. I have 7 that are partially implemented or are currently in progress. 27 are open, and I have 3 classified as not applicable. Out of those 34 that are currently in the open/partially open status, there are 17 that are open and partially open, and 17 also relate to the purchasing department, which will be fully implemented once the purchasing policies and procedures are in place. So what I did earlier today was compare our current DPW tracker as of today to what was in place in December, January, what we reported on. And I have moved 24 to the closed category. And obviously 24 of those items, a majority pertain to various departments. A bulk of it was solid waste and recycling, accounts payable, and engineering. So if you would like, if you have any particular recommendations or audit comments that you'd like to hear regarding anything in particular, I can certainly recap that for you. Earlier today, I forwarded a DPW audit tracker, and these are just the closed items. And out of those closed items, I highlighted in yellow the ones that were recently moved to the closed category since our last meeting. And I did, put responses to questions also in the matrix to answer, some follow-up questions that Lori had and other committee members had. And there may be further open and follow-up questions. So, and I'm more than happy to research those or look into those or answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Sachs. So we don't have a lot of time, but we have about 30 minutes. Would you be able to maybe just walk us through very quickly the newly closed items and, just give us maybe a little more color on what was done to close out these, or if they were closed because there were just, they may have been implemented, but there were open questions. Maybe you can help us understand the answers to those.
Yes, some of them were closed as a result of internal audit follow-up for backup material and documents. Some were closed because there were some follow-up questions that I had to investigate and look into. So the first one that was open that I recently moved was BM1, Building Maintenance 1, and that involved a physical inventory of items and that are located on the tool trucks and the locked cages at DPW Garage. I did consult with those divisions, tree maintenance, building maintenance, highways and streets, and they did provide me with an inventory of items that are located on those trucks. They do a regular checkup of those items that are on the trucks to ensure that they're in tip-top condition for safety reasons for the crew. And I found everything to be in order, and these checks are done on a regular basis. So I moved that to the closed item on our checklist. The next one was engineering. The recommendation was that permits be better controlled, use a cash register, and reconciling the permit numbers. I went to engineering department and reviewed their operations, their process for recording permits. The permits are pre-numbered. At this time, I recommended that they utilize a pre-numbered receipt book whenever they are receiving cash or checks from customers. They're in the process of getting a credit card system in place, so once that's in place, we will also be taking credit card payments from customers. But right now, it's cash and checks. They're using the receipt book. They're documenting it in the receipt book by permit number. They're reconciling cash on a daily basis. They are making daily bank deposits as required by town policy, and properly recording all revenue in the proper engineering revenue account. I moved that item to the closed category. Solid waste and recycling was the next one.
I'm sorry, can I just, do you mind if I jump in with just a follow-up question? And
Sure.
I'm sorry if I missed this, but the one follow-up item on that was, did we make sense whether did we look to see whether the permit revenue that was recorded kind of made sense?
Yes, I did do a reasonableness check. I did an analytical review of prior year's revenue in comparison to current year revenue, and it was conformity with revenue received in prior years. So I felt that comfortable with the amount of revenue that was collected by the engineering department. I think we lost, I'm not sure if we lost Lori or not.
No, I'm here.
Oh, sorry. I don't know if you heard me.
I did. I heard the explanation, and thank you for that. Appreciate it. Sorry to interrupt. Could keep going, Connie.
No problem. No problem. Do you want, I'll move on to the next one, or do you have any further questions on that?
No, that's great. Please go ahead.
Okay. Solid waste and recycling, the recommendation was to institute a proper segregation of duties in the billing, processing of receipts, and so forth. I went to the department and I reviewed their operations, and there is a segregation of duties currently that exists within the billing cash receipt process. There are different different employees that process the different transactions within the department. The solid waste manager creates the invoices, the recycling coordinate receipts and posts the checks. Another administrative assistant makes the bank deposit and so forth. So I felt that comfortable with that segregation of duties within the department. It is a very small department. There's a limited number of employees, but those processes are segregated. And further, there is a department head that reviews daily bank deposits that are made within the department. So that's another form of control of checks and balances.
And do you mind just, as a follow-up on the question that I had there, the voids, is there a significant volume of voids?
Well, there's not, well, it depends. If you're at the scale house and you're a cashier there are voids that happen through the cash register process here and there. In the office, not really. If, any void that would happen in the office is if the solid waste manager inadvertently posted a customer's check to the wrong account, or a wrong dollar amount was posted to someone's account. But in those cases, I do have, for any void that occurs within solid waste and recycling, whether it be at the cash register, at the scale house, or in office, I want a void report to be printed on a daily basis. I want the reason for the void to be explained, and I want it signed off and approved and reviewed by the department head as a control to make sure that unauthorized voids aren't occurring.
Right. Yeah, thank you for that. I mean, I guess, you know, even if there are sign-offs and there are approvals and reasons, a high volume of voids would be, would potentially be a red flag, but it sounds like from what you're saying, that's not the case.
No, it is not the case. But voids do occur, but it's not an unusual volume of voids that do occur.
Thank you.
I'll move on to solid waste and recycling number 2. It was recommended that the cash register system be updated to have a check key so that those transactions can be entered and balanced by type. And that was completed, and the cash register has been upgraded and to include a key that says, one that says cash, one that says check. Before, all cash went in as a cash, in a cash button, but now it's segregated cash and check, as required by the outside auditor.
And so how much, yeah, and I guess I was a little bit confused here. I know we've gone back and forth on, I know that the town in general is trying to reduce, you know, cash transactions, and we've been moving more toward credit cards. What is, in terms of this particular transaction type, what are we getting in terms of cash still versus checks versus, I mean, is this an area where we'll move away from cash payments or not?
Well, we are in the process of also installing a debit credit card system at the scale house, and I believe a large majority of customers will use their credit cards and debit cards to make payments in lieu of cash and checks. I think a lot of customers like the ease of paying with a credit card, so that's definitely in the future over at the scale house.
Okay, so it's targeted as one of those where we're going to be moving away from cash, but we're not there yet.
Yes, correct. Yes, it is in process.
Got it. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, solid waste and recycling number 4 was a new one that we moved to close, and it was recommended that the town develop a credit card policy for haulers and annually establish credit limits. So we did establish a policy with solid waste and recycling. It was reviewed by the Chief Administrative Officer, and we have set a limit on how much a customer can have outstanding. So in order to avoid potential bad debts in the future, this policy was distributed to solid waste and recycling and DPW administration, and they're aware of the policy. I plan in the near future to just do a check and make sure that they're in accordance and are abiding by the policy that was distributed to them. So that was moved to the closed category.
Have we had any bad debts in the past in this area?
No, I don't think we've had any bad debts in terms of the credit hauler customers.
There's been smaller haulers who have subsequently gone out of business, but I would say, I mean, if I had to put it, it's not large.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Okay, solid waste and recycling 5 was moved to closed, and that was, we recommend the town develop and implement a policy regarding the acceptance of checks from truck drivers at the transfer station. And we do have a check policy that we wrote for solid waste and recycling. It was adopted in September 2020, and it was distributed to the solid waste manager, recycling coordinator, scale house operators, that they are allowed to accept checks by the haulers. They're required to give receipts for all checks received. However, all checks received by haulers who are on this debit system, that is, all those checks are input in the office here at the town hall by office personnel. That was moved to the closed category. Solid waste and recycling 7. We recommend that all COD customers, for all COD customers, that the invoice be entered and then payment applied to the invoice. Now, I did research this with solid waste and recycling, and I spoke to the manager of solid waste and recycling right before he retired. And subsequently, since he's retired, I've had the opportunity to go down in solid waste and recycling. I've been inputting the customer payments into applying them against the customer accounts myself, because they're in the process of hiring a new solid waste manager. So I do not see COD customers, and the solid waste manager before he retired confirmed there are no COD customers. Basically, if you are a hauler on the debit system, you pay by check. The check's applied to your account. Every time you go to the solid waste and recycling facility, the account is debited. The money is drawn from the account. So hence, there were no COD customers. I moved that to the closed category.
Okay. Yeah, and thank you for that. The only recommendation ever got into the report. You know, somebody must have had a conversation, or there was clearly something that led our auditor to believe that there were COD customers, and so you know, I thought that before the report was issued, it was sort of reviewed for factual accuracy, and that's why I didn't understand why a recommendation like that would have been included in the final report, and our response is that, you know, there's no such thing.
Right.
So you're saying you're comfortable that...
No, I agree. I think there was some confusion between maybe the solid waste manager and the auditor. I did call Joe Santafonte, and I asked him if he could tell me who those particular customers were, if he had anything in his work papers, but he did not. And as far as I could not find any COD customers, so, and it was confirmed by the department head as well.
Okay, that's good news.
Okay, let's move to APP1. The billing rate for the rentals and sign replacements should formally be determined by the first select woman and or Board of Selectmen, as is the process for all other town fees. Now, at the time, this is back in October 2020, I spoke to the interim director of Public Works, and he tells me that they are no longer renting picnic tables. They will provide picnic tables for a civic event, but other than that, they are not renting to the public. And if there are any rentals that do occur to civic groups, they're all handled through what we call our RecTrack system, which is a computerized system. It's all handled through Recreation Department. There's no cash being transferred between parties, no cash handled amongst the various parties. So I moved that to the closed category. Now, I did inquire about the sign replacements, just to let you know. From what I hear, it is very rare. It does occur. That's if someone damages a street sign or stop sign. And again, that's handled through the RecTrack system. Any questions on that?
No, thank you.
APP2, we recommend that timesheets and time cards be approved by the division that supervises the employee to ensure accuracy and completeness. Yes, the timesheets are reviewed by each supervisor of each division. If there are part-time employees, they use a timesheet, which basically has the employee's name, the hours that they start, the hours they finish work, and so forth, so they could get their pay. All those timesheets and time cards are reviewed by the supervisor. And what I have instituted now is that I'm requiring the supervisor to just put his initial and date when he reviewed it and approved it, so we know that he indeed looked at it. Once he does this, it goes to the payroll clerk in that department, and she inputs it into Munis, and it gets approved by the department head, and it gets paid.
So, and then when I guess, my question was, it's fine that we have someone sign it, but it seemed like what went wrong here is that, you know, you had an unsigned timesheet and somebody was actually able to still get paid. So who is responsible for making sure that timesheets are approved? I mean, is it payroll now that is going to have to make sure that these timesheets are signed off? Or, in other words, where was the control breakdown? Was it in the payroll department who didn't check to see that the timesheet was approved?
No, the payroll department would never see the timesheet. It would be the department head. It would be the supervisor first, and perhaps the department head if he chose to follow up and look at that timesheet. But it's always the supervisor over that employee.
No, I realize that they're the ones that approve it, but then once it's approved, it has to go to payroll to be paid, right?
Once it's approved, it goes to a person, it could be a secretary, a clerk in the department. She inputs it into the Munis payroll system.
Got it.
And it goes to the department head, and he sees the employee's name and the hours they worked and their pay. He reviews that, he approves it.
I guess my question, though, very specifically is, whose responsibility is it to make sure that that timesheet is signed off before it moves on further in the process?
The ultimate responsibility would be with the department head.
I think I'm not getting, so the department head has to actually approve that person's time, right?
Yes.
But if they don't do that, if they don't approve it, like what happens in this situation, then, I'm sorry, say that again?
If the department does not sign off on it, the person doesn't get paid.
So in this case, the department didn't sign off on it, but they still got paid. So what's actually happening here other than, you know, reinforcing to them that they have to sign off?
Let me just read the finding. Employee worked with...
Yeah, because I guess, you know, that if somebody has to sign off, that's great, but I guess that there really should be a control to make sure that somebody did sign off. So if someone forgets to sign off and a person still ends up getting paid, you know, where along the process does someone make sure that there's been a sign off? You know, I'm not talking about the person who signs off. Who makes sure there's been a sign off before they can write a paycheck for an employee?
Well, payroll will only pay an employee if they receive department head approval, a department head sign-off. That's the only time an employee...
Okay, so in this case, then, it was payroll paid something even though it didn't have a department head sign-off?
No, that's payroll... The department head most likely, obviously, signed off and approved this employee's pay. It appears that this employee did not submit a timesheet. I'm not sure. Just from reading the finding, it says the employee did not submit their timesheet. Now, apparently, the department head approved it anyway. However,
okay.
the responsibility lies with the department head to ensure that the employees under his realm are actually working and working the hours that they work, and that they're bona fide employees, not fictitious employees, and so forth, you know.
Okay, can I just ask, I don't want to hold things up, can we maybe hold off on, just leave this one open? I'll follow up with you offline. I'm not sure I understand what the exact control is there, and how, you know, what we're doing to make sure that doesn't happen again in the future. So maybe we can just, you know, so far all the ones that we've indicated are closed, I'm great with. that one maybe just we'll have a follow-up offline.
We can discuss. Hi, Jim.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Sorry for my tardiness.
That's okay. I think we all had some trouble tonight.
Yeah. And I guess it's coming again on Sunday, I'm being told. But just a question on the verification of the employee.
Yes.
In payroll. The department head is held accountable to verify that the employee is a legitimate employee. Is that what I've heard you say?
Well, currently how it works is Human Resources would input the employee's data into the Human Resources/payroll system. However, each department head should know who works within their department and how many hours they work, and ultimately it's the responsibility of the department head to ensure that these employees that they're approving payroll for have actually worked those days and those hours prior to approving it.
No, I understand the days and hours. I agree with you. It's the verifying that it's an employee of the town that I'm questioning being left up to the department head, and not Human Resources, to make sure there's not a fictitious employee, as you had.
Right. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Jim, this is Caitlin. The person has to go physically to HR and fill out paperwork in the department, submit their paperwork. HR then enters that into Munis, and then they become an active employee.
Yeah, I guess, and like Ms. Charlton said, I don't want to hang us up on this, but it's up to, there's controls to ensure we don't have fictitious employees through HR and finance having payroll set up for a fictitious employee is what I'm saying. Like, we're not cutting checks. There's no way we can cut a check for someone that's not working there.
Correct. The person has to physically go in, give a social security number. That gets validated when we pay our taxes every quarter, that the name and the social security number match in their system as well. But it's up to the immediate supervisor to provide the hours that the person actually worked every 2 weeks. Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so in this case, the person didn't do a timesheet, and I guess the department head or whoever approved it in the absence of having that.
I think that's the only way that could have happened, Lori, to be honest with you. So they would provide a timesheet to their immediate supervisor. The secretary in the department keys it all into Munis, into what's called a time entry batch. Mm-hmm. That batch is then electronically approved by the immediate supervisor, most cases an assistant department head, a department head, and then it gets to payroll as an approved batch, saying this person worked this amount of hours, and we can see the approval trail through that, and that happens every week or 2 weeks, depending on if they're full-time or part-time.
So it got keyed in even though there was no timesheet with any number of hours on it.
That would be the only way that could happen.
Yeah.
So we'll have to look into that specific case.
Yeah, and that's why I'm not trying to be a pain. I'm just picking on this point of what is the control, because at some point, somebody should not be keying in hours to pay a person if they don't have an approved timesheet.
Correct.
So it's not, to me, the control breakdown is there. Yes, it's the fact that somebody didn't sign off on a timesheet, but it's more that if I'm responsible for inputting time into a payroll system, I should never do that without having a signed off timesheet in my hand or something. So that's, I think, where the control is. We should, even though maybe somebody reviewed the final output afterward, it seems like that, that shouldn't have happened. And again, I don't know how many part-time people they are. I don't know how closely a department head reviews this stuff every week, or, if it's easy to detect, the number of hours that were worked or not worked. But it just, I don't want to belabor it, but I think it would be, on this particular one, maybe if we just go back and it'd be helpful to just understand exactly what happened, because it's not a matter of signing off. If there was no timesheet to begin with and it still got input, then I'm not sure, you know, the sign-offs were the issue. It's that the input happened without the right documentation. You know, that seems, that in my mind seems to be the problem.
And we are exception-based only, so it's not like any default number of hours comes over for part-time people. Everything is an exception. So, yeah, somehow those hours got in. And I think, just to kind of take this one step further, with this new time and attendance system that will be going in soon, I'm wondering if a lot of that will then go by the wayside as well, all of the physical timesheets, and we'll have something a little bit more electronic, which then feeds into Munis automatically.
Yeah, okay. All right, so let's just, you know, again, I'm not necessarily doubting that this one is closed out, but maybe we can just revisit that. I also just want to point out the time here, and you know, Jim, I know you joined us late. What we were doing is Ms. Saxel was just walking through the newly closed out items to see if we had any follow-up questions on any of them. And, you know, so far the ones that we've gotten through, I think I didn't have any questions up until this payroll one. We're fine to, you know, move a bunch of these, you know, keep them on the closed list.
And I will follow up on that one. I'll actually go and see who the actual employee was and what the situation was.
Okay. Okay, and I know we got a late start here, but given the time, you know, clearly we're not going to be able to walk through the rest of these. So what I would ask is that, you know, if Mr. Brown and Ms. LeClaire and myself, we will, if we have, you know, follow-up questions on the newly closed items, which are those highlighted in yellow, we can submit those, and we can have a discussion about them next time we meet. If not, we can consider those items closed, if that works for everybody.
That works for me.
Okay. All right, great. You know, again, it's 10 minutes of, so just to sort of give us time to transition, I'll move at this point to the next item of business, which is to hear, consider, and act on any communications. Mr. Schmidt, Ms. Saxel, Ms. Bossy, do you have anything you'd like to raise?
No,
Nothing additional.
None at this time.
Okay. Mr. Brown, Ms. LeClaire?
Excuse me, this is Bill Hurley. I just want to make sure you can hear me, and then I'll mute myself.
Yes, we can.
Thank you.
No, the only thing I'd like to add, well, we have Ms. Saxel here, is that I'm sure you're aware we've moved you off the regular meeting of the Board of Finance tonight. And most likely we'll cover this and I'll have to talk to Ms. Charlton and Ms. LeClaire. But I'm thinking March 2nd. I'm not even sure if we'll have time to deal with this, to give it the consideration it needs and the time it needs at our quarterly meeting, because we don't want to rush this and you know, shortcut anything. So we'll confirm that, but right now, I believe we're thinking March 2nd.
Okay.
Which is our regular meeting in March.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Brown, the only thing I'd like to mention is that the next meeting for this subcommittee is currently scheduled for June 1st, which is 4 months from now, and I think it would be helpful, and I think it's necessary to have at least one meeting between now and then. I shouldn't say at least one meeting between now and then to continue covering this same topic on the DPW audit report. I say that with a lot of sensitivity to the timing and everyone's busy schedule during budget season, so maybe what I can plan to do is reach out sometime over the next week to the group and look to find a date that's mutually agreeable for us to meet. And, you know, we can go through, again, additional closed items, and, you know, if there aren't any, maybe we can get an update on the ones that are in process and the priority and sort of the plan for completion, if that's okay. But I'll, you know, again, I will reach out to everyone individually, and I am sensitive to the fact that we will all be busy with budget items.
I agree.
All right, I think we're ready to wrap up, unless there's anything else. So if it's okay with everyone, can I have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Brown, second.
I'll second it.
Ms. LeClaire. All right, all in favor, we're adjourned. And again, see you guys in a little bit at 7 for the Board of Finance, and I will reach out regarding an interim meeting before June to revisit this one topic on the DPW audit report. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good night.
Dave,
Good night.
could I poll the group with a question?